Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the AI InterConnect Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren. And on this show, we explore how builders, operators, and investors are shaping the future of technology and business through AI. Interconnect is a platform where real practitioners share what is actually happening behind the scene, beyond the headlines. And today I'm joined by Dilip Mohapatra, founder and CEO of Cognitive View. And Cognitive View helps organizations govern, access, and build trust in their AI system through risk, compliance, and audit-ready evidence. Dilip, thanks for being here. Very happy to have you on the show.
Thank you to have me as well.
Wonderful. Okay, I'd like to start with your background. Then, so listeners understand the path that led you here. And you have a rare mix of deep technology and compliance perspective, which is not a common combination. Dilip, how did your background lead you to build Cognitive View and focus so deeply on AI governance and trust?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Lauren, again for the opportunity. Just a bit of a background. I came from a strong technology product background in identity access management security space for a long time. But what we were doing before was focusing on financial service compliance, mostly targeting banks, credit unions, fintech, how they operate in terms of the compliance that's human related. And that's where we have got a lot of deeper understanding how compliance works, what are the regulatory regulations in this space, and how what is expected in terms of you are a technology vendor or an enterprise operating in this space. What are the things that's expected? So for me, as I had a strong technology background and combining with this regulatory compliance, building a product, launching it, give me that both side of the equation, not just a technology perspective, but from an operational perspective as well. So, and that helped me to start this AI governance journey because one of the things that we are finding is as we are selling AI technology to a lot of regulated enterprise in financial services and government, there was a long delay and there was an expectation in terms of compliance, in terms of security, in terms of privacy, and there was no clear definition of what the enterprises wanted. So I think while working through some of these challenges selling to enterprises, it gave me the perspective and the experience that to start this journey.
Okay, I love it already. Was there a specific moment when you realized AI risk and governance would become a major issue?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I didn't wake up like one day thinking that I want to build an AI governance company, and we keep some patterns over the period of time as we are selling to enterprises. And one of the things that we found is the companies who are asking information about security in terms of SOC 2, ISO. So there's a lot of understanding about security as with ChatGPT, generative AI was coming a big momentum. And what we are finding is when we are trying to sell, the sales cycle was like 6 to 9 months average. Sometimes it goes up to a year. And a lot of the time it happens that the buyer actually goes back and forth with the procurement team because they don't know exactly what they want. The security team doesn't actually understand AI. So then they're looking at everything in the lens of security, which is different to AI governance. And I was kind of thinking at that point of time that if we had to go through these challenges, what's happening to other startups that are building AI and building agents in the fintech, insurtech, govtech, and all these different sectors. So, and then I realized this is a huge problem and what's worth solving it. So that's kind of how we got into this space. Essentially, what we're trying to address is buyers, what the buyer has in mind, because sometimes they want to. This is not about feature functionality. This is about they want to know whether the AI is safe. Can we explain it? Who signs off in terms of if something goes bad, wrong, or who signs off on specific decisions? So they have all these different questions. So that's kind of how it emerges from a real need rather than just a planning that we do want to start building a platform as such. It sort of started from the real need.
Very, very interesting. Okay, I love it. You operate in a space that many people talk about, but few can explain clearly. When you describe a cognitive view to someone outside the AI governance world, how do you explain what you actually do and who you help?
I think I would clearly say something very simple, layman friendly, like if you're adopting AI, can you trust it? And because that's kind of the question that every individual or a company that is adopting AI is thinking about. So they don't know whether their data is safe. For example, a lot of them use ChatGPT, and most companies or people that I talk to, they don't know that ChatGPT trains on their data by default. There's a privacy setting they need to switch on to make sure that it doesn't train on their data. A lot of people are building vibe coding or building softwares with a lot of ideas with AI nowadays, but a lot of them don't know that some of these tools like Cursor and Copilot actually trains on their data. That means the IP is getting leaked. So what happens when I talk to customers or end users? I talk to them with the tools that they're already using day to day and try to ask them some very basic questions. Do they know this? Do they know that? And that kind of helps them to kind of think through, yes, they have these questions in their mind and they are not sure about it, or they don't know what to ask. That's kind of brings up a lot of those conversation point. But essentially at the bottom line is that if you if you're building AI or buying AI from third party vendors, can you trust it, and what is really required for you to trust it? That's kind of how we normally explain it. And we are building the technology, the solution, the platform, the means for you to adopt AI with a responsible AI manner. That's something that you can explain, that you can be assured that your data is safe and secure.
Okay, very clear. Very, very interesting. And which type of organization tends to get the most value from working with you?
Yeah, I think we find it's more relevant at this stage for mostly regulated entities, uh, mostly like healthcare, government, or financial services. For them, this is a high priority because a lot of the tools that they're using, whether you're making credit risk decisions or you are actually using in clinical diagnostic, some of these tools are impacting the end user directly. And there are certain laws already in place in financial service compliance and in the healthcare HIPAA compliance from privacy standpoint that expect you to do certain things in certain way. So you don't need a new AI governance law for that. So the basic laws that we currently have in place already expect you to protect customers' data and make sure that the decisions of the technology that you are using to automate, you can stand by. So we target those regulated industries right now in the first place, but we are also seeing emergence of some of the new standards like EU AI Act and few others that gives or expects all entities, irrespective of the industry, to be compliant with those standards as long as that's applicable to you. So from that perspective, I feel it is relevant to all sectors, but it is still an early stage in terms of companies understanding or that they need to do this. So we are also putting some efforts to create an awareness about it. But to answer your question, it's very much regulated entities is what we focus on right now.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And and what part of your platform or approach create the most leverage for clients?
Absolutely. Look, I think we kind of look into first we start with the startups, right? So if you're a startup selling it to building AI or agent and selling it to an enterprise, from their perspective, what the enterprise is expecting them is that they want a standardized way to document how they're doing AI, what kind of models they're using, whether the AI is meeting certain safety and performance criteria. So we focus first on the documentation, and the outcome of that is like a trust center link that a startup company can embed publicly in their website. just like a privacy link in the website. And the other outcome that we offer is that now you said that we do this and that, but can you prove it to me? So we have a solution called AI readiness check that basically verifies that what you told us is actually what you are doing it. So that's more from the startup side, help them to reduce procurement friction up to 40%. And the same applies for the enterprise buyers. If they don't have a clear means to evaluate startup A versus startup B or any vendor for that matter, they can use the tool to review it. And then we have a more enterprise pack, which is a bit more advanced solution for large or mature companies. For them, they can have a full risk assessment solution. They can implement frameworks or compliance like 2001 NIST, EU AI Act, state-specific legislations like Colorado AI Act, and any industry-specific legislation. So for them, you can see all the regulatory requirement in one place. They can implement the controls, and we work with a lot of audit partners that can certify that they're actually compliant. So that's more for advanced users that we offer.
Okay. Yeah, that's wonderful. What truly differentiate cognitive view from other governance or compliance tools?
Yes, I think what we have seen in terms of the trend, the traditional GRC tools are essentially doesn't understand the AI stack. Means it's very generic in nature, but in the AI governance space, the tools that we have seen has taken a very top-down approach, looking into automating policies, looking into automating compliance. Or we have seen a different set of tools, which is purely looking from a ML developer standpoint to evaluate model metrics, to look into hallucination score. So those are more monitoring and observability set of tools. What we found is there is a disconnect, which is the unique opportunity where bringing both top down view and bottom up view. So we created this trace RI engine as the proprietary engine that actually helps companies to prove by defining what they do and inputting evidence, whether it's a model metrics, whether it's the control that they currently have in place. Basically, very business friendly. It asks you a bunch of questions and asks you a set of input metrics, and it creates this responsible AI report that helps customers to know whether the AI is ready for deployment or not. We feel that's a very unique and key differentiation of what we have to offer that no one currently offers. And this also gives us a clear advantage in terms of the market gap that we have seen to really connect the dots. So that gives something to the auditor, to the customer that they can trust.
This is powerful. Yes. And okay, then building in a fast moving, highly regulated space always come with unique pressure. And right now, what feels like the hardest part of running and scaling cognitive view?
I think we when we go back to the Gartner hype cycle or Forrester, we see every technology has that early stage where we need to create a lot of awareness and then really prepare the market for to transact from creating awareness to really buying and investing on a technology. I think I would say last year was still an early stage in terms of the market awareness. So we invested a lot of effort in creating awareness, but also teaching customers about what AI governance is, what responsible AI means, and how to kind of look at it, evaluate it, all those. I think the unique challenge here is that this space is evolving. Although this is a huge opportunity because we see that companies need to adopt AI, they're under a lot of pressure to adopt AI. So from that perspective, what the tools that we have is important, but I think we really need to focus on simplifying so that customers can adopt it where they are at in terms of their journey. If I'm an ML engineer deploying models, do I have something for me to prove it? If I'm a risk and compliance manager, how do I have a solution that fills in my gap? So I think for us, really adopting to each buyer's journey is where one of the things that we are kind of working through and making sure we properly address it. But from a scalability perspective, we have signed up 17 consulting implementation partners globally across US, Australia, and Singapore. And they're one of our partners. They're actually helping and promoting our solution, because what we have seen is at this stage, it's a very much consulting led sales, not a tooling led sales, because companies need really a lot of help. We are also into a number of marketplaces, and we work with some of the large GRC vendors like Archer and cloud vendors to promote and scale. And then, of course, we have some automated marketing tools that helps us to scale. So it's really some of this combination of channel led and technology led automation and scale that we are looking to really get to bigger revenue by end of this year, and also scale up for prepare ourselves for Series A funding as well.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense. Is there friction or a problem that keeps resurfacing even as the company grows?
Yeah, I think I would say, I think the challenge sometimes is to have the right balance between direct sales and channel sales. And, because every customer onboarding right now, it needs a lot of handholding. You have to really support them, train them, teach them. So we have to invest a lot in enabling an end user. I think that's kind of takes a lot of time away, and we are hopefully trying to automate a lot of that and creates a framework so that the awareness and the training part can not it's not an hindrance for or a blocker for us. But we were trying to work and improve ourselves more on that. But otherwise, I think the other key sort of thing I would highlight is it's an evolving and interesting landscape with the political dynamics. We're seeing evolution of sovereign AI now. I think as we're seeing the sovereign AI development with each of the countries, they're looking into building their own LLM models, their own policies and framework. I think it's a great opportunity for us, but it could be a friction for us, because then we have to support a lot more of those frameworks and solutions, and we need to make sure that the solution is available in each of those countries. I feel those are the interesting development that we're watching closely, and making sure that we are adapting to some of these changes in the market as well.
Definitely. And okay, then from our conversation with founders across AI, there's a clear gap between what companies can build and what they can responsibly deploy. From your vantage point in AI governance, what shift matters most right now, but is still underappreciated?
I feel um, I think it's still a very technical domain. I feel companies still think when it comes to responsible AI, they think they need to only check for hallucination or check for certain score, and there is a lack of appreciation or understanding. Because see, think about, if you have a use case, uh, you can have the same RAG application, and it can completely different if it's a healthcare it's if it's deployed in healthcare context, or it's used in marketing, blog writing, or contract drafting use case. I think what we find is companies still think that when it comes to responsible AI, it's about model metrics. I think what we try to help people to understand, it's really about the context. It's really about understanding and defining the use case, the impact, the industry. There are a lot of those scenarios that impact your risk, that impacts what compliance can fail if you don't do it correctly. So it is not purely model metrics. I think that's kind of where I feel it's an evolving space. So it's a bit underappreciated in terms of how you should think about building responsible AI. And I think the other key aspect, I would say, the guardrails. Most companies still don't put enough guardrails or the right framework to make sure they're protected, and they get confused the guardrails with controls. I think think about like if you're in a mountain road and you must have a guardrail to protect your vehicle falling over while you have uh, your speed limit as your controls. So sometimes people don't know that whether they have a high hallucination score or not, irrespective of those controls, they need to have the guardrails. So those kind of key elements or important things normally people overlook. And I feel by the time they realize that there is a problem, it can be too late sometimes. Think about you have a credit risk application and it is making loan decision. It is, deciding who should get loan. By the time you realize that it has made some wrong decisions, it would have impacted thousands of people. In the healthcare context, someone would have died. So this is really a serious matter. So I think that's kind of where I feel there is a awareness part that is really missing in how to think about it and do it in the right way.
This is very right. Okay, then what signals do you personally watch to understand where the industry is heading?
I think, as I said about sovereign AI is one of the key sort of patterns that we're evolving because this space is because this is a regulatory compliance domain. We find a lot of the political dynamics is impacting it. I feel, you really have a strong compliance rules and where I think I would say US there is a lot of focus on the innovation, less on the regulation side. I think I feel we are kind of keeping a close eye on it to see how things are evolving, where innovation and regulatory compliance can be looked at equally, because both are important. You can't just ignore the responsible AI and just focus on building something, because then by the time you realize, it can be too late. So we definitely look at the political dynamics because the compliance paradigm depends on it. But we do keep a eye on the technology evolution, because if we are moving to a very fast track agentic world, I think the question comes is key whether the AI governance should be human driven or AI driven. I've seen some startups kind of promising that they have a complete agentic AI governance solution. So I feel at a fundamental level, I feel that's not the right way to do it, because you can't have an AI watching another AI. So these are a lot of interesting development. We don't do that. We make sure that the governance rules are defined by a human, whether you're building agents or not. So, yeah, this is an interesting space. So,
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. What is widely misunderstood about responsible AI and compliance today?
I think people still think compliance as like a tick box exercise. So they think that if they have a policy document, that means they are compliant, or they think if they have done this. So I think that's where we try to help them to understand how some of these regulators like EU and ISO, they actually have made a huge change. They emphasize on the fact that you have to really look at each AI application or use case individually and make sure they are compliant. You can't look at just as a company or as a system to say, oh, these are the 20 things I have done it, and then that means I have complied. I think that is the most misunderstood concept, where people still think compliance is a tick box exercise, which is not. It's a very operational, real time. You need to make sure it is actually working.
You're operating at the intersection of technology, regulation, and enterprise adoption. So focus become critical. Looking ahead 12 to 18 months, what does success realistically look like for Cognitive You?
I think, for us, like we wanted to, what Banta is doing for SOC 2 is what we want to do for AI governance. And in terms of adoption, if we can have a significant adoption, whether it's a startup or enterprise by end of the year, early last next year, and if we can have at least presence where companies or the industry recognizes we are one of the top 5 vendors, I would be really, really happy that the top 5 vendors in the AI governance segment. I think that would be a good achievement for us. And from a target perspective, we are aiming to have at least 50 consulting partners by end of this year. And we already have a couple of audit partners, and we're still expanding. So, and yeah, really n- uh, customer revenue, and if we can get to Series A by the end of this year and secure and close it from an investment standpoint, that would be a good outcome as well. And I think I just want to add one more thing. Look, end of the day, I think we didn't. I mean, this is definitely, this is a business and company, but I think at the hindsight, we are doing something really important. I feel, to create a safer and world in the new, how it is evolving with AI. And if we can make the AI or the world more safer and help people to adopt trustworthy AI and make them responsible, I think I feel that's one of the key thing. It really is a motivation for us, and it really helps us and keeps us energized that we are definitely doing something that is making an impact in everyone's life, because it's really helping that patient's life who is going through a radiology check. It's really helping that end customer that is getting a loan from a bank. So definitely we feel that we are making an impact in that way as well. So we are really excited about that.
Yeah, that's great. That's beautiful. What are you deliberately choosing not to do right now?
I think we I would say we have made some structural changes to our business operation to create a model where we are self-sustainable. For example, our software development was happening in Australia, and we moved a lot of software development to India. And that really helped us to reduce our operational costs significantly and reliance on external capital significantly. So we're not actively looking for a capital raise of a fundraise chase all the time. So we can focus on customer acquisition and build and grow the business organically to a certain stage before we go and look for further capital. So I think I would say we are not in that vicious cycle of cap raise all the time. So that's definitely something we feel that we're doing differently.
Okay, fair enough. And what decision feels most important for you and the company at this stage?
I think, as this is an evolving space, I think we can't just rely on a certain product market fit signals. And because the technology, this space is changing in so many ways. So I feel the product market fit is not a constant anymore. I would say we just need to be aware and accept the fact that the product market fit is always evolving, and we need to continuously evolve. So that would be the.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you have seen both the technical and governance side of AI, which give you a broad perspective. Based on what you have learned so far, what should operator building AI product start doing or stop doing when it comes to government and trust?
Yes, I think, first of all, I would say if you can define something, you can measure something, that means you can manage that. I think for ML developer or AI builders that are building product or solutions, I think they should be really understanding basic AI governance concepts to understand the risk and compliance dynamics, and not to purely limit their application development at a technical level, because and make sure that they define those skeleton and a strategy to make sure that they achieve those outcomes. I think whether you have a certain technical metrics and what technical metrics you need, or what should be the ideal range, and what kind of way you can measure it, whether it should be human driven, it should be automated, why automation makes sense sometimes, why automation doesn't make sometimes. So there are a lot of these kind of questions. It can only be answered correctly if it goes through a formal assessment. I think my advice for builders is to really make sure that you define it, you measure it, and then you manage it to make sure that the technology is also built responsibly. It's not just about feature functionality.
Yeah, very true. Okay. What habits or mindset shifts made the biggest difference for you as a founder?
I think, well, okay, I feel in terms of the mindset, I feel I have learned that, I mean, I'm a single founder, so I feel that I can do everything myself. I think I have, over a period of time, learned to delegate better and share responsibilities or really invest on people so that they are enabled and they can drive independently. So whether it is our own research and development engineers or whether it's a partner that we are working with, we really focus, and I try to focus on enabling my co-workers or partners so that they can independently drive it. I think that's kind of the big shift or change that I've seen. I've done myself rather than trying to do everything on my own. So because that can scale for sure.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, very nice said. And what advice will you give yourself at the very beginning of Cognitive You?
I feel well, okay. So I think I feel the more I talk to customers is always better. I mean, this is for sure. Everyone kind of understands it in a hard way. I feel building a product in isolation is not really a good idea. I think getting that market feedback and having that continuous loop is really important. I have made my own fair share of mistakes. So if I'm starting again, I'll go back. I will try to focus on that, make sure that I talk to as many customers as I can, get the continuous feedback while still knowing where the market is heading, having my own strategy, but still getting the feedback so that I make sure that we're on the right track.
Yeah, very true. I love it. And Dilip, thank you so much for joining. Very strong insight into your journey, your industry, and the work you are doing at Connective You.
Thank you,
Thank
Lauren,
you.
for having me as well. It was really good having this conversation with you.
Me too. Me too. I really enjoyed. I really want to do it maybe in a year from now and see the evolution. In the meantime, where do the audience can reach you and learn about your company?
Yeah, I think the company website URL is www.cognitiveview.com, COGNITIVEVIEW.com, cognitiveview.com. And so they can reach out through the contact us page, or they can send me a link or invite in LinkedIn as well. And I'm happy to connect with them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That's it for today's episode of the AI Interconnect. And if you enjoy it, share it with someone who's building the future, or better yet, someone who should be. Until next time, stay curious, stay creative, and keep building.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Lauren.
Dilip. Thank you so much.
Okay.